Why don't you do a little follow-up on last night's meeting? What's the next step as far as the CRA?
Okay. As you know, we chose two firms as the staffing agencies for our CRA, CH2M Hill and RMA. And because this was a request for qualifications, we didn't get bid or talk numbers or contracts. So the next step now is to negotiate contracts, and we'll be negotiating with both of them to see who we can get the best deal from.
Did you deliberately not want to get an actual vote, even a straw vote from the commission? Was that something was intentional?
Yeah, what I really wanted from them was their opinion and their feedback and their collaboration. You know, as a strong mayor, it's my job to hire staff, but I wanted their input.
And they had some pretty strong opinions.
Yeah.
Some for one, some for the other.
Yeah.
Now,
I think they made a lot of really good points and good suggestions about what should be included in any contract that we do. So, yeah, I think it was good.
And, you know, it came up at the meeting, you know, there's still people that just have made up their mind that you made up your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish I had how many times I've heard the fix is in. You knew from the beginning you were going to hire the Spreesmeister's company, and you denied it. So, give you another chance, give you another opportunity.
I deny it. No, you know, my bottom line is to do what's right for the city. That's why I'm here. If hiring RMA is right for the city, then that's what we'll do. If hiring CH2M Hill is right for the city, that's what we'll do. They both have strengths, in my estimation. They both have weaknesses, in my estimation. So I think it's going to come down to what the contract looks like.
Is it just, how big will the money be versus what they can offer? It will just be a mix?
Well, you know, we have a budget, so we have to stay in the budget.
But they know what the budget is, so
Yeah,
presumably...
it's all public information.
So presumably, you know, they'll try to give you the most attractive dollars.
I hope so. And I think, you know, it's the dollars, but it's also the services. You know, what are we going to get for those dollars? And, you know, you often quote me that it's not about how much it's going to cost, it's about what we're going to get for our money, you know, bang for our buck. If we're going to spend a total of $950,000 on personnel, what are we going to get for that $950,000? I think that's about what's in the budget now, $950,000. It's a round figure. And, you know, the question is, who's going to give us more for that amount of money?
Will you, how much will you demand or make conditional the company keeping or trying to keep people that are already here?
Well, that seemed to be something that many of the commissioners are interested in. I'd like to hear what the proposals are and see what, you know, what that is. It's important for me to keep the folks who are currently CRA involved in our city. Whether they're involved in our city full-time or part-time, I think that's something we have to talk about.
Would one option be for the private company to hire them?
Yeah, I mean, I know this is, it's a very stressful time for employees of the CRA, and I understand that very much. I've been in similar situations personally, and it's difficult. But if they're employed by a group like CH2M Hill, oh my God, they would have opportunities to work with cities all around the world. You know, if they weren't here full time and they were employed, they might be doing work in any number of cities. So I think the horizons are open for them. But you know, it's all has to be worked out.
Now, you still hold the option of leaving it the way it is. That's still out there. Mm-hmm. Have you ruled that out, or is that still something that...
I haven't ruled it out. I'm not inclined to do that at this point because I think we have a couple of good proposers. But if I can't get to a point where I want to get to in our negotiations, it's certainly an option.
left here. Just curious.
You're going to ask me about the bridge?
Maybe at the very end, I'll ask about the bridge. I'm just curious, now that we're less than a year from Election Day, any thoughts on what you expect to see the next year, and any themes we'll hear in campaigns? Have you given much thought to it?
My own election? Oh, yeah, well, of course. And really not because of election, but we've got a strategic plan to implement. We are moving forward with that. We'll be focusing a lot on transparency and accountability, economic development, figuring out the All Aboard Florida quiet zones and what All Aboard Florida is going to mean to us. We have development projects, City Hall site, the 10th site, 8111, Haverhill. We'll be looking at all of those. So there's a lot to do. There's so much going on in the city. It's just really exciting, actually. Charter school.
Anything new with that, or are we still in the early stages of it?
We're still in the early stages. We're looking at, we had somebody here yesterday from the provider looking at possible places to put it. So he went to look at some land and some buildings.
What's the issue with the quiet zones at All Aboard Florida? Mm-hmm. Is that a concern for a lot of the cities up and down this area?
Oh, absolutely. It's a concern for every neighborhood through which the All Aboard Florida is going to go, wherever there's a crossing. And in West Palm Beach, we have something like 32 crossings. We have the most crossings of anywhere. They're a critical concern of the other communities. As a matter of fact, the League of Cities in Palm Beach County has gotten involved as well. And, we sort of think that by coming together as municipalities and communities, we'll have a stronger voice.
And what does that voice hope to maybe accomplish?
Well, we have to find funding to get these quiet zones to happen. It's expensive to do a quiet zone. So we're looking for grants. We're lobbying the legislature and the governor's office and, saying you need to help us with this because we as municipalities can't afford it.
So as it is, each city has to pay for its own quiet zone at every crossing?
Correct.
And there are lots of crossings here.
32, I think it's 32.
Do you think that's something that could slow down that project if enough cities say, hold on, we don't have the funds for this, or we don't necessarily think we should be the ones to pay for this?
I think the project is moving full steam ahead, no pun intended. I think that if we get to a point that All Aboard Florida will be helpful, it already has been helpful in talking to us about how to secure the financing.
Are they open to picking up some of the costs?
Not at this point. They have, as you know, offered to fund, have decided to fund the safety improvements at the crossings. Now, those safety improvements are needed to get to the quiet zone. They aren't all there is, there's more, but it gets us there part of the way.
So they're picking up at least part of the overall
With the
reconstruction
funding of the safety improvements, it gets us part of the way there.
And for people watching who don't exactly know what a quiet zone is, what it looks like, feels like, maybe give us a short version of that.
It's basically no horn zone, and you have to have specific safety measures in place at the crossing, multiple arms, and other things that, so that the train can go by without using their horn.
So basically, it's letting people know there's a train coming by, and it keeps them away from the area so the train doesn't have to tell people we're here.
These safety precautions have to be built in. Additional safety precautions have to be built into the crossing so that if there's no horn, there's plenty of precautions to keep people from going through.
Could taxpayers in all these cities end up paying for part of this if enough funding doesn't come through?
Well, I hope that we will get our funding, and we're going to do everything we can to fund it. Quiet zones aren't required, so it's going to be a balancing act. Are there some areas that, more residential areas, where it would be important to have a quiet zone? If you have a quiet zone on one street and there's a crossing very near to it, do you need to have two quiet zones, or will that suffice for that area? So there's a lot of technical stuff.
So the primary money could come from, you think, the state for a lot of this?
Well, state, feds, Tiger grants,
Whoever's
legislative.
got the most money. they
Yeah,
can
wherever
come
we
this
can
way.
find the money.
Just curious, separate to this, some conversations picking up this week about the possibility of the county importing trash from other counties and disposing of it here in Palm Beach. Any thoughts as a city, if this is something West Palm Beach wants to see come in?
Well, we don't, because we have communities that are going to be impacted by that. Our western communities, where the Solid Waste Authority plant is, are highly impacted by all of the truck traffic and the garbage coming through. And if there's more of that, we have a lot of concerns.
And drivers on 95, if the wind's blowing in the right direction. It's
You know,
overwhelming sometimes to drive with the windows
I
down.
get a ton, well, and the garbage, I get a ton of complaints from people living along North Lake Boulevard. Because the trucks come down, and even though they have those covers on them, stuff falls out. And, you know, we could be out there every day picking up trash on North Lake Boulevard.
So are cities coming together to develop maybe some kind of plan or alternative to the county?
I'm not aware of that. Not that I know.
Have you told the county what you think?
We attended a meeting, Commissioner James was at the meeting because he represents those districts, and we shared our feelings about it, and certainly the communities have shared their feelings about it.
Which parts of the city do you think would feel the most impact?
It's Iron Horse, which is right adjacent to Solid Waste Authority, and Agus are the two major areas.
Can you speak briefly about two issues that are coming up in next week's meeting? One doesn't look like it's going to have a whole lot of problems passing. The other one may be a little more complicated, and that's the expansion of the Hanley Center and this Jewish Community Center administrative building. You've opined on both.
Yeah, well, I think the Hanley Center, I think the proposal is a good proposal. I think they've been thoughtful about what they need to do. They've met with everybody, and they're moving forward. I think the first meeting, none of us had enough information, and they have since doubled back and talked to each of the commissioners, and of course talked to me, and I think that will be okay. Jewish Community Center, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I actually would like to see them stay here in West Palm Beach. I think they're a good addition to our community, and I hope we can find some way to make that happen.
Would a possibility, maybe seeing if there's another place they could go?
I don't think we're looking at that. I think we're just trying to figure out our pilot, and they don't want to pay a pilot, but are there other ways we can address that?
But letting them come in completely tax-free, I mean, you know, I know Commissioner Robinson has made a big point of this, and even back when I covered Boynton, it was a big thing there, because basically the position was, yes, we love our nonprofits, but that's property that's not generating a penny. And every city.
You know, that's what you're always weighing. You know, you always have to ask yourself those questions, and sometimes you come down on the side of the not-for-profit, and sometimes you don't. In this particular case, and I'm the first to say, let's bring in more tax dollars. In this particular case, I would like them to stay, and I would like us to figure out a way to do it.
And real quick, any update on filling the positions of HR director, finance director? Is that the only two now?
We have a couple of others. HR director, we're in the middle of a search. And from what I understand, the search firm has over 100 applicants. So we'll look again. And finance director, our plan is to move up the assistant finance director up into that position.
When will you decide that soon?
I'm sorry?
Will you decide that pretty soon?
We're negotiating right now.
Any plans to see the president Friday or Saturday while he's in town?
No, I didn't know he was coming.
Miami.
No, Miami.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
To come in here?
not sure. He's here to fundraise, so he may be making the rounds.
Maybe, yeah.